And welcome to Habs Unfiltered, episode 300 and something. I'm your host, Blain Podfang, and I'm joined by my co-host, Matt Smith.
Good evening.
We've almost given up keeping count of episode numbers. I think it's 329.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. It's been so long.
It
Just so
has.
long.
It has. It's been almost that long, and it's been since we started this show. You started the show with Treg, and then I joined. That's the last time we saw each other in person. That was
Oh
2018.
my God.
Yeah.
Yeah, in Dallas.
Yeah. With COVID and with everything, with deployments and everything like that, that was actually the last time we saw each other in person. So
Yeah, we
Nashville is going to
recorded that
be,
show.
yeah.
Yeah.
So Nashville's going to be pretty crazy, I'm sure.
Well, if it's anything like what we did in Dallas,
Yeah.
where we basically just hung out at the pool and got shit-faced, I
Hmm.
think it'll turn out pretty good.
Yeah. And I'm going solo this time, so I can partake a lot more.
No wet blanket this time.
Yeah.
Well, I invited my better half to come out, and she just doesn't want to try going down to Nashville. She's like,
Yeah.
ah. She's like, that's your thing. Like,
Yeah.
cool. I'll just hang out with the
Go have
boys.
fun with the boys. Yeah. Sounds good to
Yep.
me.
As long as Treg doesn't bring his uniforms this time, we're good to go.
We'll see.
All right. Well, this episode, unfortunately, Treg is not with us for this one either. Um, but we're going to carry on without him, and we're going to talk a little bit about yet more injuries.
Yeah.
Possible call ups, the Avalanche game where they scored a touchdown with a 2-point conversion, and some other stuff around the NHL. But to start it off, let's talk about the game versus the Avalanche. So Colorado showed up, started playing the game, and about an hour earlier than the Canadiens.
Yeah.
And the score shows it 8-4 final, a 2-point conversion on the touchdown. We were talking about it off air before coming on, and I think you were right. Had that game not gotten back under control, there may have been jerseys on the ice.
This and that's a serious thing to say when it comes to the Canadians. Yeah. They're even though the team has performed, I can't even say they performed poorly. I can tonight, but like they've been in the majority of the games that they've played, despite all of the injuries, and it showed the press box tonight. And there's your lineup. They're sitting there watching the game. They're sitting there eating popcorn.
Entire NHL team,
right?
Yeah, and a whole NHL team.
And there's and of all the teams in the league, they're still leading the league in average attendance. So the fans haven't given up on them. But I do feel that tonight, if it they would have hit a 10 spot tonight and without a little bit of kickback, which they demonstrated, it could have been the night. And like I don't like saying things like that, but I just had a kind of a sour feeling. And when the fourth goal was in the net, and I'm just like, it's the first period, guys. Like, somebody step up.
Well, I mean, the Canadians only had 7 shots in the first half of the game.
Right.
That is not a good look.
So I'm gonna, before we get like into the details of the game, I'm gonna give a shout out to Josh Anderson. He was by far their best player. He was the only forward that was really noticeable throughout the game, and I mean like start to finish. He probably could have had a hat trick tonight if he would have had a little bit better luck. This is a player that I want to be on the team as part of this rebuild. I know that his value's high and people want to trade him and they want to get prospects for him or they want to get draft picks for him. This is a guy that's he's gonna be there in these kind of games, and he's not gonna falter, and he's not gonna just put his tail between his legs and just kind of half-ass it. Like the guy's still gonna he still cares, and you can see that. Like he's been a leader on this team, and moving forward, I hope he continues until the end of his contract.
I agree. I think for him, it's clear that Hughes loves him, loves what he brings. But with Anderson, because of his age, depending on the offer,
right,
he's available.
Right.
Like it has to be the right offer because he does bring a unique aspect to the team.
Yep.
There's not a lot of players like him in the league.
No.
So you're going to put a high premium on a player such as that. I mean, he scored his 20th goal of the season this year in
Yep.
this game. And this is on a team decimated by injuries,
Right.
and he's still producing.
Well, we've seen
Not a small feat.
this is their 7th loss in a row now.
Yeah.
And going into this game, was 6 games in a row they lost only by a goal with two in a shootout. And these weren't easy teams. This was the Devils, this was the Knights, this was Carolina, the Kings, etc. Tonight was the night that they looked outmatched. We look at the lineup and you could have said that night after night over the last couple weeks and said, this team's going to get destroyed. There's going to be a massacre tonight. And all of a sudden you've got the Canadians going to a shootout with the Canes. You've got them going to a shootout with the Devils, etc. 2 teams that should have just beat the hell out of them. And now you've got tonight, it finally caught up to them, and it was just a matter of time that it did. And it didn't get as bad as I thought it was going to. 8 is still a shit number to put up, but the fact that they were able to at least get 4 in against a good team, then I'm a little bit
Stanley Cup
happier.
champions.
I'm a little bit happier about that. But the fact that they still lost another player, it's something that I'm not really it's more roster management moving forward and seeing like who's the next guy up. And at this point, it's like, who's the next guy in the chopping block, really? It's like, who's the next guy? Who's the next guy to go to the infirmary, really?
And do they have enough guys under NHL contract left to even call up? That's
yeah.
We'll get into that here in a minute.
Not too many more.
Yeah, we'll get into that in a minute. But I want to continue on this game. So, they clearly didn't start the game properly.
No.
And the Avalanche took advantage of it. They're a fast team. They're a talented team. They're deep, clearly, Stanley Cup champions and all. But the second half of the game is when the Canadians decide to pull up their socks and play with some pride. Anderson clearly leading the way in that aspect. I mean, he played that way the entire game. Like he wanted to win.
Yeah.
He showed up on time. He was from start to finish, every shift, the best player on the ice. And that's no detriment to Nick Suzuki or Caden Gooley. It's just he was highly visible because of his work ethic.
Right.
One other guy, and I did mention Gooley, I did like his game. Matheson played a very good game in the second half. And Gurianov surprised me with this game. He wasn't dominating in any one aspect, but he was productive and he played to his strengths.
What I like about Gurianov, he got his 3rd goal with the Canadians tonight in his, I think, 8th game with them.
Yeah.
He had 2 goals with Dallas in 43 games. So given a little bit more opportunity, it's showing that he can pot a goal or 2 here and there. And this trade has worked out so far for both teams because as we record, Dadonov has scored again tonight for Dallas. And I believe he's looking at, I think he's got 7 points in 7 games, 7 points in 8 games, something like that. So we knew that the potential was there. He just wasn't going to show it as a member of the Canadians.
He didn't want to.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. He was going through the motions knowing he was going to get traded.
Right. But let's go on to Gooley. McKinnon trips up Gooley, right? Runs his mouth a little bit. Gooley gets in his face. All of a sudden, Johnson comes and gives him a shot from behind. Savard jumps in for his young teammate. If Gooley went down easy or not, you got a player like McKinnon yapping at a rookie. And then later on in the game, McKinnon went down and he went down relatively easy.
On that goal.
Right?
Yes.
Nobody said anything. Then he goes and scores a goal, right? And then later in the game, when Anderson took that penalty, he falls down on his ass. And the first thing, I thought he was going to get whiplash for trying to find the referee. And, his neck whips around to get the arm up. And then, of course, they score on that sequence as well.
Yeah.
Like, I have mad respect for McKinnon. I think he's one of the better players in the league. He's an East Coaster, very talented player. But I fucking hate the players that fall down and they're looking for mom and dad, right? If you don't hear a whistle, get up and fucking skate, right? You're a professional athlete. You're not a little bitch. Just don't just sit there and cry. And you fucking you dust yourself off and you keep skating. You don't look for mom and dad. And I hate it. And it can be a Canadiens player that does it. It could be a fucking Leafs player. It could be any player, right? Just like play hard, play tough, right? This isn't flag football or anything. It's not a touch game, right? You fall down. If you don't hear a whistle, get up and keep playing.
What gets me is a similar play such as that that the Avalanche pulled on one of the Canadians.
Yeah.
Didn't get called.
Yeah. Yeah. And
So,
I'll
call it. I don't care. Just call it.
And I'm going to give a
like
shout
one
out to
standard.
the linesman for saving Bowen Byram tonight. Because Pizzetta, he just held on to him, right? They actually originally, I think they ended up calling it just a 2-minute for roughing and a 10 originally, because there wasn't really punches thrown. But all they did is, Byram just held on to him because he knew if Pizzetta would have let his hands go, it wouldn't have been good for him.
Swung his purse at him.
Right. So, and I'm not saying anything bad about Byram, but he knew he was outmatched. And the linesman was ready,
which was smart.
Right. But the linesman was like, when should I step in here? And you know what? The Colorado knows that Montreal say toughness, other than a guy like Anderson, is sitting in that press box right now.
Yeah.
So they can flex their muscle a little bit more. They can take these liberties a little bit more. And for the most part, they did a little bit tonight.
And on that as well, Byron knew that, that this was Pizzetta trying to fire up his team. So he just kind of hung on. He didn't want to give him any more leeway or any more space.
Right.
So by just holding on, I mean, that's, you don't look like you've turned down the battle to make yourself look like you're afraid or cowardly.
Right.
But at the same time, you're not giving him the satisfaction of pulling off that one punch finish or to get the crowd back in it. So he played it smart.
He did. But this is one that you kind of want to forget as a Canadiens fan. And they got to do it quick. They play Pittsburgh tomorrow, who they've been playing much better hockey as of late. So it's not like things are going to get any easier. And I'm wondering, are they going to go back to Allen tomorrow because he only played half, or are they going to give Montembeault the start? Like, how's it going to go? Because
it's hard to say.
Well, Montembeault played the majority of the game tonight, right?
Yeah.
So hard to say. And you can't really and honestly, you can't really falter Allen for the goals that went in. A lot of them,
a couple of them were just tap-ins.
Yeah, a lot of them
cross-ice tap-ins.
Yeah.
He didn't get any defensive support.
The team didn't compete in front of him tonight.
Now, once Montembeault stepped in, once they made that goaltending change, the team woke up. You look at the possession stats right up until a little bit after that change. Total dominance on the part of the Avalanche. Complete and total dominance.
Yep.
But then after the third period began, completely opposite situation. The Canadiens had almost total control, except for the power plays that they gave up.
Yeah.
And you can't give up power plays against a team like that. They went 3 for 3, Colorado?
Something like
it was 4.
3 for 3.
3 for 3.
Yeah,
so
3 for 3.
if not for the penalties, this might have been, this is a 1-goal game had the
Right.
Canadians played with some more discipline or just showed up on time.
Yep.
So I'm not gonna fault the team too much. These games are going to happen in a rebuild, especially when you have 37 guys up in the press box with injuries.
Yeah. And another one on his way.
Yeah. So why don't you tell us all
So,
about that, because
right.
we're all
So,
excited.
unfortunately, another guy to the infirmary, Rem Pitlick. He
Yeah,
only played 5:08 in the game. Uh, got a shove from behind from Devin Taves and
yeah.
went, kind of shoulder and face first on the boards, left the game, and they announced that he wasn't going to return. So another one, I hope they're going to need a bigger press box at this point.
Well, yeah, the way he went into the boards was, it was, oh my God, he uh, he snapped back pretty hard. So it looks a lot like there's going to be maybe some concussion issues there.
Right.
Um,
Like I know that
so
they've got a press box and it's pretty big, but at this point they're gonna have to ask the one beside, be like, hey guys, I know you're having a birthday party in there, but Jack Guy needs a place to sit, right?
yeah,
And
it's
and that's just the way it's been this year. And the injuries haven't been short term, which is the thing. It's
no.
not like you're out day to day. Like day to day has been like month to month for the Canadians this year.
And you can't say that these injuries are from the medical staff or the training staff not doing their jobs. These are in-game injuries.
Right.
You take a shot off the foot, or you run into the boards, or you fall the wrong way, or you land the wrong way, or you throw a punch and just kind of graze off, and it separates. Like, it's just all these different all these injuries
Yeah.
from gameplay. It's not on the trainers. It's not on the medical staff. Maybe people would be a little less angry if, I don't know, they were a little bit more accurate with the return times.
Yeah.
Instead of saying day to day for a month and a half, just say he's week to week for a little
Right.
while, or say,
Well,
hey,
look how
we're
long
looking
it
at
took
3-4
us.
weeks.
Look how long it took us to get something on Monahan.
Yeah.
Because we were like trade chip, first round pick, and then he's hurt again, and it's something else, and we're
Yeah.
not trading him. Goodbye trade chip.
We can't,
Yeah,
because we can't.
yeah. So we talked a little bit off air about a potential call up. I haven't been
Yeah.
on their Twitter since we started recording, so I don't know if that's already happened. But we talked a little bit about Tisdale being a
Yeah.
potential call up. Um, that would be my selection. They could easily say, well, Justin Barron is skating again. Let's go for the 11-7, which is, it would not surprise me at this point. But I would look at a guy like Tisdale, give him that opportunity. He was an undrafted signed player by the Canadians, 2018. Played for the Armada for the longest time, played for the Huskies, etc. But then for him, once he went pro, it was knee injury after injury after injury
Yeah.
after this, after this, after that. Then they had COVID, then there was a COVID pandemic, etc. But this season, however, he's been healthier and he's quietly put up 20 goals for Laval. He's an
Yeah.
RFA at the end of the season. I would give this guy an opportunity. Let's see what he's got.
Yeah. Now, St. Louis has just confirmed in the last few minutes that Pitlick will be with the team on the trip, but that doesn't mean he's not going to be on IR,
Yeah,
or
or
he's going to
banged
be
up at
injured,
some
or
point. Yeah.
yeah. So maybe he's available, but I think if you are going to make a call up, Teasdale would be the guy at
Yep.
this point to earn the call up.
Yep.
Now that would hurt Laval, because
Yeah,
Laval is
absolutely
fighting
would.
for a playoff spot.
Yeah.
But you want to give guys like that opportunity, because he's showing that he's earned it.
Yes.
Get that little shot, even if it's 1 or 2 games, kind of cement himself and show management, hey, I'm still here. I'm still productive. I'm still progressing.
Right.
Give me another contract.
Yeah. And we talked a little bit about Semino as well. And then we figured that he's still in an AHL deal for the rest of this year. His NHL deal doesn't go into next season. So he would not be an option. So Tisdale for me is their best option.
And looking forward, down the line a little bit, there's going to be opportunity to sign NCAA free agents here.
Yes.
So we can talk about Struble here in a minute, but there's going to be a lot of UFA forwards coming out of the NCAA. Now, with the Frozen Four tournament coming up, all the different major conferences are having their play-ins right now. And as we go along, teams are dropping. Week by week, there's going to be 5, 6, 10 teams drop per week moving forward. And there's going to be some players on those teams that are going to be worth taking a look at. Like I brought up Jackson Nelson the other day from Minnesota, 6'4", 220-pound center. Might be worth a look. Might be worth a 2-year ELC. We'll see. But right now, the Canadians are in the driver's seat. They have that opportunity to offer these chances, these NHL deals to these guys. So if they identify one or two, go for it.
Yeah, and Hughes is a guy that knows NCAA.
Yeah, he hangs around the old NCAA quite a bit.
So he knows what he's talking about when it comes to that. So it'll be interesting. I wouldn't be surprised if you see a player or two looked at. Can't say who. Right now, it's honestly the Struble watch is on right now as his season came to an end the other night with Northeastern losing their game.
Yeah, and overtime too.
Yeah. So the spot's there.
Loss.
The spot's there. It's open.
Yeah, and Marco D'Amico, our friend Marco over at Montreal Hockey Now, he made mention that with that loss, he's expecting something to happen in the next couple of days, or at the very least, a decision from Struble will happen in the next couple of days. And from all indications, Struble wants to play in Montreal. So if he's given that chance, it looks like he'll take it.
Well, he can play on either side. He's when defense first, stick up for your teammate type defenseman. He can hit you hard. He's got a mean streak. They do have different options. I think the most enticing thing is going to be, say, like, here's your ELC, which I believe would be a 2-year deal.
Yes.
Right. Come to the NHL. Let's see what you got for the last few games of the year, which would likely push out a guy like Wideman for a while, or maybe we'd see a little bit of a revolving door of who's going to play and who's not. Or he can go the ELC, or not the ELC, the
PTO.
The PTO option and go to Laval, kind of like what they did with Condata.
Yes, where he would sign a PTO for the rest of this season, and his ELC wouldn't kick in until next.
Right. But I question on that. Would he'd be ineligible for the playoffs though, right?
No, he'd be available for their playoffs.
Okay, I wasn't sure how that worked.
Because he hadn't been signed at that point because of the NCAA option. So that kind of allows him to step in, just like Condata did when he signed his deal.
Okay. That's weird though, because everything else is like, if you're not on the team after the trade deadline, you're ineligible.
But he was not a professional at the time.
Right.
So now he is.
That's
so
weird.
Now he's available.
That's a lot of asterisks. A lot of asterisks beside that.
To mention, pardon me, guys like Riley Kidney, Joshua Roy, Owen Beck, those guys would be eligible to join the team once their CHL seasons are done. Right.
So a guy like Mesher could jump in, maybe.
Exactly.
And he's a guy his team sucks.
They are going to probably lose in the first round if they make the playoffs. Looks like they might.
Yeah.
And it looks like they'll play London.
Yeah.
So they'll lose.
Right.
So Meshar might get a shot.
Right.
And I don't see London going too far either. So Mailloux is another guy who would be able to play in the AHL. Now I know there's some controversy about the NHL not releasing him or allowing him to play in the NHL, but that's the NHL, not the AHL.
Yeah.
There's nothing holding him back from playing there.
Yeah. Well, I can see Struble. I can see him signing.
Yeah.
I can see him
No,
signing.
yeah, I could see that. I definitely can. If anyone can sell an NCAA free agent on signing with the Canadians, especially one who has played several years with the son of the GM of the Montreal Canadiens, would be the GM of the Montreal Canadiens.
Right.
he
Right. I have
knows
a
it.
I have a question for you. Okay.
74.
It's this has nothing to do with Canadians, but it's something that's been in the back of my head.
No,
Um
I'm married.
so at the trade deadline, Chicago and Toronto made a trade involving
Mhm.
Pavel Grigoriev, a forward. Okay. Um Played in the AHL, played for Newfoundland in the ECHL, etc. He was part of a trade he was a part of the Jake McCabe and Sam Lafferty deal. Okay.
Yeah.
Chicago then put him on unconditional waivers for contract termination. And then he went right back to where he was, and Toronto got to get rid of a contract because he went and he signed
Yes.
an AHL deal after the fact. You think that's a little
It's
bit shady, or am I the only one that thinks that's a little bit shady?
a lot shady, but it's shady, but it's legal.
Yeah, but he's coming back on it. He's coming, but he came back after getting traded. They were able to shed a contract, and now they could go and sign somebody else, like Matthew Nyes or anybody else. And all they did was just shed a contract and then just brought him back on an AHL deal a couple days later after trading him to Chicago.
And you know that that was the goal. The whole point of that
Yeah,
move was to
yeah,
do that, exactly that, because he could have been traded to Chicago and Chicago held on to his contract and just left him
yeah.
on
Because
loan
Toronto's on
to
Toronto's
them.
now at 49 of 50 contracts.
Yeah,
Yeah,
which it's pretty obvious
yeah,
what's going to happen here.
yeah. I just wanted to bring that up there. It's a little shady.
I think it'd be hilarious if Matthew and I said, you know what? I don't want to sign with you guys.
Yeah, you imagine.
All those Leaf tire pumpers going on and on about how great of a prospect this kid is will
Yeah,
suddenly go out of their way to slash the tires on that one.
yeah, yeah. Before we get into whatever we're going to talk about next, I want to shout out to Lane Hudson. Lane Hudson was named a finalist for Hockey East Player of the Year and Rookie of the Year. So good on him. The undersized defenseman that everyone said that wasn't going to do anything. Good on him.
Yeah,
Good job.
he's setting records
Yeah.
for freshman defensemen scoring points.
Yeah.
He's also, as a redshirt freshman defenseman, uh, in the mix for the Hobie Baker.
He is. There was another
That's
crazy stat up here as well, and if I can find it, I will read it off. But there was another stat that was out about him. If you'll just bear with me for a second, and if I can't find it.
that he has a better point per game average than Cale Makar and Luke Hughes in their first years in the NCAA.
Yes, what you said. However, I have something else.
Okay.
Lane Hudson, the first defender in the history of Hockey East to lead the league in conference scoring and the first freshman to do so since Jack Eichel in the 14-15 season.
Who was a forward,
Who's a forward. Yeah.
drafted second overall.
Yes.
Not bad.
But is he taller than 5'10 though? And was he 5'8 when they drafted him or whatever it was?
Well, after talking,
Yeah.
looking him, well, I still had to look down a little bit, but
Yeah.
standing next to him, looking him in the eye, I can honestly say that he is not 5'8".
Yeah. And another bit of news, Sean Farrell was named Ivy League Player of the Year.
Yes, he was.
Yeah.
And there's another NCAA forward who is likely to be available as a free agent probably by the end of this weekend.
Right.
If Harvard doesn't win.
Right. But even then, he's as soon as they're done, like, that's contract watch for him. And I could see him signing, being one of the guys that's going to sign right away.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's obviously openings for him to just walk right in.
Yes. Yes.
And he does have experience playing against men. He does have the experience playing against older players and professionals. I mean, you look at what he did in the Olympics and the World Championships.
Right.
He acquitted himself extremely well, being about a point per game player over those two tournaments.
And he's a good buddy with Cole Caulfield.
Steal.
Yeah, and he was, and so far it's shown that he's been a steal.
Now, had he been on the team, Farrell, had he been on the Canadiens when the Habs went out on the ice with their jerseys with the nicknames, would his nickname be Steele?
That would have been good. I would have been okay with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be pretty funny. Or just a picture of Cole Caulfield's tweet on the back of his jersey.
Right. Yeah.
All right. So we didn't have a lot. You know, we put in about as much effort as we could possibly put in. You know, about 2/3 of a show's worth.
Right.
We figured, why break from tradition and do something different than the Canadiens?
Yeah.
The last little thing here that we have some notes on is goaltenders. Now, we all know that the Canadiens need a goalie. They desperately need someone who can be a starter, you know, 2, 3, 5, 10 years down the road. It's not Allen. It's not Montembeault.
Nope.
Doesn't look like it's Primo. But there's a couple of guys who are available on the trade block.
Yeah. So it's very much looking like the Canucks could potentially move on from Thatcher Demko. This guy is 27 years old. He's a skilled goalie. Like he is a skilled goalie. The team in front of him hasn't been the greatest this year. He's battled injuries, etc. But this is a guy that he can do the job. He can stop pucks. He's a big guy. He moves well. And then the other one is Carter Hart out of the Philadelphia Flyers. 1 year left, I believe, at 3.9. Thatcher Demko, I believe, has 3 seasons left at a $5 million cap hit. One's going to cost you a lot more than the other, that's for sure.
Yeah, Hart would definitely be the one that I think would bring in the bigger return, just because his contract's a little bit better. He has proven himself a little bit more, and I think overall he's the better talent.
It's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough to see what they do. I wouldn't be surprised if they just, unfortunately, just rode Montembeault and Allen for another season. It wouldn't surprise me, but as the team gets healthier and the skill starts to develop and the chemistry starts to develop and cap space starts to develop, etc. I want to see a team that's going to be a little bit more, if they're ready to be a little bit more competitive, I want to see somebody that's going to be a net that's going to be able to make that extra save when they need it the most.
Now, I do believe that this summer, around the draft, we're going to see the Canadiens make a move around goaltending. I do expect to see some kind of a trade for a decent prospect goaltender. I do expect the Canadiens to use at least one draft pick on a goaltender. There's a bunch of slightly older goaltenders. I mean,
right.
you just look at some of the names out of the World Juniors from this past winter.
Yeah.
And you're going to find a couple of older guys, 20-year-olds who are going to be available, probably in the 3rd round. The Canadiens should be fine getting someone there. But I do expect to see possibly a move for one of those bigger names.
Right. I'm looking, the way I'm looking at it right now is I think that their first pick in the 2nd round if a goalie is available that's on their list, I think that's when you're gonna see it. I if Bjornsson is available, maybe, or what the fuck's his name? Harmonson or whatever his name, whatever. I don't know. Remember the big
The 6'6" goalie. Rabble.
Harabel.
Yeah.
Um,
Rabble,
if
rabble, rabble.
right, if he ends up being available, and it's looking like he might go in the first round, but if he's available when they pick their first pick in this, well, right now they're only second round pick. If he's available, I'd say take a swing on him. And then
Yeah.
you've
No.
still got in the later rounds, you still got Trey Augustine who played for the Americans, etc. Like there's goaltenders there, and they're gonna take a while to develop.
Yeah.
But as a fan, and speaking on behalf of fans, I think that the Canadians want to see a little bit more of a fast track in the net, as opposed to like, let's develop a guy for another 3 years. And you're right. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like Primo's going to be the guy.
No, it really doesn't. He's been he had that great playoff, and he's shown some flashes through this season, but he hasn't been consistent in
No,
any way, shape, or form.
no.
Now, the Canadians haven't done him any favors by calling him up, sending him down, calling him up, sending him down, having him miss games over the last few years. But it's just not working out for him right now. And uh, there's a possibility that the Canadians still get that third first round pick. So a goaltender with that third first round pick would be a perfect fit.
It would be. It's just it would be
It would take 5 years.
Yes, it'd be stocking the shelves as opposed to going out and making that trade. Because
And this is why I was
there are goaltenders out there that are going to be available, and like I know that we've talked at length about a guy like Dustin Wolf,
especially Treg. He loves him.
right? But it's do they want to give him up, or do they just want to have an abundance of goaltenders? Because they still have Markstrom and they still have the other Czech fella.
Random insert random name here.
I just
Off the top of my head, I don't know.
It'll come to me. Don't worry.
Well, this is why I'm thinking that the Canadians are going to use some of the draft.
Done. Dan Vladar.
Okay.
Yeah.
And this is why I think the Canadians are going to use some draft capital to pick a goaltender so they can have. They want to layer it up, right? They want to have someone. They've got some guys now to just hold the fort. They want to bring in. They want to draft someone so they can develop them. But I can also see them trading or signing an NCAA free agent or trading for someone who's ready to graduate from the NCAA. I know there's a lot of talk of Devin Levi because he plays at Northeastern. I doubt that the Sabres are going to want to give him up. There's another goaltender in their system who plays in, I think it's Michigan.
Okay. And whose system is that, you said?
His name. The Sabres.
Okay.
Trying to remember his name. I'm going through the reserve list right now.
I'm just looking at Harabel's stats right now, and he plays for Omaha, the USHL. In 25 games at 898 with a 3.23 for a 6'6" goalie. He had a lot better numbers when he was playing for the Czech League. And when he played at the U18s, he had great numbers. He had a 1.99 with a 933 save. But if I'm looking at a guy right now that's playing in the USHL with an 898 save, that doesn't scream first round pick to me.
No.
It's
either.
Like you can't teach size, right? And you can't overlook that because that's what teams are looking for. They're looking for that big goalie. But is he going to be the 6'6" goalie that's going to come in and play lights out in the future like a Pecorine? Or is he going to be like a Verbektic that they have already that has the size that still is learning how to use his body to his advantage?
True.
Right. And I don't want to.
Obviously, it's going to take time.
Right.
So yeah, I'm just looking at the Sabres system now. I mean,
I think they traded him. I think they traded him.
Who?
That goalie that you were talking about.
Portillo.
I think they traded him. I'm 99% sure.
Yes. Yeah. They traded his rights to the Kings for a third round pick,
There you go.
but that doesn't mean he's going to sign with them,
No,
but he likely will.
yeah, because he has the, because he does have the, he does have the, well, Quick's not there anymore, and you've got Corpusalo and,
Path is
yeah,
there for him.
right.
But
Yeah,
this is what I'm talking. Not necessarily someone from the Sabres. I'm just in general. I do see the Canadians drafting one, trading or signing for one that's a little bit older, someone who's around 22, 23, and possibly trading or signing a known NHL quality.
yeah. But we've brought up Hart, we've brought up Demko. Canadians aren't the only ones that are out there looking for goaltending.
Exactly.
And I'm going to look at the Sabres. The Sabres are kind of, they struggle defensively, but they're a powerhouse team offensively. They've got a lot of guys that can put the puck in the net, and they've got size. And right now they've got Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, who's like the funnest name to say in sports. And they got Craig Anderson. Craig Anderson's the oldest player in the league right now. He's probably not going to be around much longer. And then Luukkonen has been up and down throughout the year.
Yeah.
So they're gonna look for an upgrade as well to reward their forwards with a little bit of more of a solid backstop. And they've shown that they've taken a step forward. So I can see their GM going out and making a move for one of these two goaltenders, if not somebody else.
You've heard it here first, folks. Devin Levi for Jake Allen.
Right.
Done deal.
Yeah.
All right. So that's pretty much everything we got. Do you have any final thoughts?
We got an upcoming show. So make sure that you guys tune into that. It's got a Habs prospect involved with that.
Yes,
So
it
make
does.
sure
Yes,
you
it
guys
does.
tune in for that. And if Michael Bublé, if you are listening, you can endorse us. I'm drinking a raspberry Bublé right now. It's very, I know it's bubbly. I call it Bublé because I'm classy. So that's about all I got to say.
Ooh la la. All right. And I've got nothing. No, there's no thoughts rattling through this empty head of mine. So I just want to thank everybody who's tuned in, who's listened, who's been sending us these emails, sending us these DMs, and interacting with us online. I just want to thank you guys for helping us make this show a little bit better, just a little, with the changes. I mean, we got Matt to wear some flannel,
And I'm
so
not wearing
that's
a
a big.
hat for the first time. Yeah. Yeah, new
Either.
haircut. Yeah, new haircut. Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that haircut. I got to set my watch. Okay. Setting my time to that haircut.
Yeah. Yeah.
But no, I want to thank everyone for tuning in, listening, interacting, making us a little bit better so that we're watchable and listenable to all of you out there. So again, thank you very much. And remember, if you're talking about it, so are we.